Rob Reiner murdered, his wife murdered, their son trending as the killer before police have even named a suspect. Wikipedia edited, YouTube lives cashing in, X turning it into a left-right slap fight in under 2 hours. Yeah, let's talk about what we actually know, and what's just the internet writing fanfic in real time. Welcome back to the comment section with Thomas Paul. Today we're diving into the Brentwood double homicide at Rob Reiner's home. What's confirmed, what's coming from anonymous sources, and how this story became culture war content before the blood was even dry. Let's start with the hard facts, because there are not that many. On Sunday, December 14th, 2025, Los Angeles Fire and Police got a call in the afternoon about a family incident at a home in Brentwood. That home is owned by filmmaker and actor Rob Reiner. First responders arrive. Inside, they find 2 bodies, a man about 78 years old and a woman about 68. Both are dead. Both show what officials describe as apparent stab or knife wounds. The address ties back to Rob Reiner. Multiple major outlets, citing named officials and people close to the family, say the victims are Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner. LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division takes over, which is what you expect when detectives think they're looking at a murder, not, say, a medical emergency. So, as of the time I'm recording this, we have a double homicide in a Brentwood home owned by Rob Reiner, 2 adults fitting their ages, and multiple on-the-record confirmations that the dead are Rob and Michelle. Authorities say it's being investigated as a homicide with stab wounds involved. And here's where things start to blur. Timeline next, because the order of events matters when you're trying to separate reality from rumor. According to fire department and police statements, the call comes in mid-afternoon, around 3:30 to 3:40 p.m. local time on Sunday. Responders arrive. They pronounce both victims dead at the scene. The bodies are inside the residence. Shortly after that, word starts to leak. Neighbors talk. Local TV picks up scanner traffic and confirmation from officials that 2 bodies were found in a home registered to Rob Reiner. At first, police won't say who the victims are. They won't say if Reiner is one of them or not. That's pretty standard until next of kin are notified and the coroner signs off. As the afternoon turns into evening, more outlets citing either the LAPD, the fire department, or sources close to the family confirm the victims are Rob and Michelle. The coroner doesn't instantly blast a press release to the internet, but between age, address, and on-the-record statements, that part of the story firms up. There's also a detail showing up in several reports that one of their daughters, likely Romy, came to the house, found the bodies, and called authorities, describing it as a family incident. Important point, that detail is coming from outlets citing family or law enforcement sources, not from the official LAPD press releases, at least not yet. So if we're being very annoying and precise, and we are, that's a sourced but not yet fully official piece of the puzzle. By Sunday night, robbery homicide detectives are running the case. No official suspect named, no charges filed. Police confirm obvious trauma, apparent stab wounds, but say motive and circumstances are under investigation. That's where the public record stops, and that's exactly where the internet takes over. Now we have to talk about the son, Nick, because that's where things go from tragic to explosive. Very quickly, big outlets start publishing stories that point to one of the Reiner children, specifically their son Nick, as a person of interest. Some reports say he's being questioned. Others say he's missing. Some go further, quoting anonymous law enforcement sources claiming he killed his parents. Keyword there, anonymous. We do not, as I'm speaking, have a charging document that says Nick Reiner charged with murder. We do not have a public LAPD statement naming him as a suspect. We have a lot of sources say, reportedly and allegedly, and then YouTube and X turning that into case closed, the son did it, in record time. But wait, it gets even messier, because Nick Reiner isn't a blank slate. He has a very public, very painful history, long-term drug addiction, periods of homelessness, rehab, relapse. His parents tried to help him. They even made a semi-autobiographical film called Being Charlie, co-written by Nick, about a young man fighting addiction while his politician father tries to keep his career together. So, as soon as his name leaks into the coverage, the narrative machine kicks into gear. Troubled son finally snaps. Drug-addicted black sheep murders liberal Hollywood parents. You can practically hear the podcast intros writing themselves. Let's be crystal clear here. That background might be relevant to investigators. It might end up being part of the story in a courtroom someday. But a history of addiction is not proof of murder. A rocky past is not the same thing as evidence. There is a huge difference between police are talking to him and he did it. There is an even bigger difference between some detective told a reporter off the record they think he did it and 12 jurors just convicted this person. Right now, Nick Reiner is not charged with this crime. He has the same presumption of innocence as anyone else. That might change. It might not. The story is still moving. But the internet? The internet hates "we don't know yet." Here's where things get interesting in a very 2025 way. How fast the information environment rewrote reality. Within hours of the first reports, Rob Reiner's Wikipedia entry was edited to say he died from stab wounds in his Brentwood home and that multiple sources allege his son killed him. The death section, which did not exist at breakfast, is now a mini crime summary by dinner. Reddit threads pop up. People are screen-grabbing the Wikipedia edits, arguing about whether it's appropriate to mention the son before charges, tracking which outlets have updated what. It becomes a meta whodunit about who changed the page and why. YouTube Lives go up with all-caps titles. Rob Reiner murdered, son taken into custody, live coverage. Some hosts are literally reacting in real time to unconfirmed scanner chatter and tweets, filling the dead air with pure speculation while super chats roll in. Even more polished videos are labeling it a murder by his son and putting killer in the thumbnail text while still technically saying allegedly out loud. It's like a legal disclaimer drinking game. And here's the uncomfortable part. For a lot of viewers, that's their primary source. They're not reading charging documents or waiting for an LAPD presser. They're getting a live true crime show where every new rumor is treated like a plot twist, not a maybe. We are watching narratives form in real time, out of partial facts and anonymous whispers, and because the platforms reward speed and drama, not accuracy, we think the son did it becomes the default story before anyone has to actually prove it. Now add gasoline, X, formerly Twitter. On one side, you have the official reactions. Former President Barack Obama posts a tribute talking about Reiner's film legacy and his activism, remembering him as a friend and a passionate voice on democracy. Other politicians and cultural figures chime in with some version of "this is a heartbreaking loss," and "he gave us some of the greatest films of all time." Film and culture accounts blast out the news. Rob Reiner, director of The Princess Bride and When Harry Met Sally, found dead at 78 in apparent homicide. Clips of his movies go viral. That inconceivable line gets an unfortunate new context. Fans share memories, watching Stand By Me with their parents, quoting, "You can't handle the truth," from A Few Good Men, pointing out how many comfort movies he directed that are now attached forever to a crime scene. And then, the partisan turn. Because Rob Reiner wasn't just a director. He was also one of the most online, in-your-face liberal voices in Hollywood, very vocal anti-Trump, constantly talking about January 6th, democracy, fascism, you name it. So you get a wave of conservative accounts posting reactions that range from cold and snarky to outright celebratory. Stuff like, "one less Hollywood elite lecturing us about democracy," or "God has a sense of humor." Some dance right up to the edge of saying he deserved it because of his politics, then hide behind just asking questions. On the other side, liberals and anti-Trump accounts frame the killing as a pure tragedy, and in some cases start speculating about mental health, addiction, and America's failure to treat vulnerable people if the son turns out to be involved. For some, it becomes a story about the opioid crisis and homelessness in one tweet. So in under 24 hours, a horrifying family event has been absorbed into the culture war. A Rorschach test where everyone can see exactly what they want. If you loved Rob Reiner's politics, he's a martyr to a broken system, possibly a victim of society's neglect of addicts. If you hated his politics, he's another Hollywood hypocrite, and his death is, at best, a punchline and, at worst, payback, even if the killer, if it's his son, has nothing to do with his activism. All of this is happening while the actual investigators are still collecting physical evidence, interviewing witnesses, and waiting on autopsy reports. Let's put a pin in that mess for a second and remember who we're actually talking about. If you're younger or just not a movie person, Rob Reiner might just register as that loud guy on X with strong opinions about Trump. But for decades before that, he was TV and film royalty. He's the son of comedy legend Carl Reiner. He won Emmys acting on All in the Family back in the 70s. Then he goes behind the camera and directs a run of movies that's kind of insane. This is Spinal Tap, Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, Misery, A Few Good Men. That's not a filmography, that's a cultural starter pack. He was also, very openly, a political guy. Funding causes, speaking out on talk shows, doing interviews where he treated Trump like a walking constitutional crisis. For some people, that made him a hero. For others, an obnoxious Hollywood scold. Either way, he wasn't just a Twitter account or a trending topic. He was a 78-year-old man, a husband, a father of 3 kids, Jake, Nick, and Romy, found brutally killed in his own home along with his wife of over 30 years. This is not just content. It's the violent end of a long, very public life. Okay, deep breath. Let's zoom out and talk about how to watch this story unfold without getting played. There are basically 3 buckets here. Bucket 1, hard facts. These are things that come from on-the-record officials and are very unlikely to change, except in small technical ways. 2 bodies found in a Brentwood home owned by Rob Reiner, ages roughly 78 and 68, pronounced dead at the scene on Sunday, December 14, 2025 in the afternoon. Apparent stab or knife wounds. LAPD robbery. Homicide is investigating it as a homicide. Multiple major outlets and people close to the family have confirmed the victims are Rob and Michelle. You can disagree with the framing. You cannot disagree with the existence of 2 bodies in a Brentwood mansion. Bucket 2, sourced but unconfirmed claims. This is where a lot of people get tripped up. This bucket includes things like reports that one of their daughters found the bodies and made the 911 call. Reports that their son Nick is being questioned, treated as a person of interest or is missing. Reports that anonymous law enforcement sources believe the son killed them, maybe even that he confessed off camera, or that a particular type of knife was used, or that there was a specific argument beforehand. Some of that might be true, all of it might be true, none of it might hold up in court. The point is, it's being filtered through journalists relying on unnamed insiders, and we don't have official on-record confirmation yet. And then bucket 3, pure speculation and narrative. This is where you get YouTube creators confidently declaring, "We know it was the son," people constructing complex motives about politics or inheritance without a single piece of evidence, and partisan accounts turning this into a morality play about liberal elites or conservative cruelty. You'll see thumbnails with blood splatter, titles like Hollywood's Dark Secret Exposed, and 25-minute videos where the actual new information could fit in a TikTok, but we stretch it out with theories, vibes, and what if. You can watch that if you want. It's entertainment. Just don't confuse it with news. If you want to keep your brain intact while following a story like this, here's the move. Every time you see a new detail, ask, which bucket is this in? Did the LAPD or coroner say it on camera or in a document? Bucket 1. Is it coming from sources say, reportedly, or we're hearing? Bucket 2. Is it someone just free associating on a live stream while reading chat? Bucket 3. And here's where it gets even wilder. The incentives on YouTube and X are perfectly tuned to push everything toward bucket 3. Being first and dramatic pays better than being boring and right. You already see it in some of the coverage. Conservative channels leaning hard into anti-Trump Hollywood actor murdered, like his politics are the most important part of 2 people bleeding out on a floor. True crime channels putting the alleged son in the thumbnail like he's a Netflix villain before he's even charged. Comment sections treating the whole thing like a choose-your-own-adventure podcast. Meanwhile, more cautious outlets are still using language like allegedly, under investigation, no suspect has been officially named, and they get roasted in the replies for not telling viewers what to think yet. If you want a basic rule of thumb, if the claim you're hearing would be a huge deal if it were actually proven, wait until it shows up in a press conference, an affidavit, or multiple independent reports before you treat it as settled. Especially in cases like this, where addiction, mental health, family trauma, and partisan politics are all swirling together. You won't be the first to tweet the hottest theory, but you're also less likely to have to delete a thread later because you accidentally helped smear an innocent person or amplify complete nonsense. So, where does that leave us right now? As of the recording of this episode, here's what we actually know. On Sunday, December 14th, 2025, 2 people, a man in his late 70s and a woman in her late 60s, were found stabbed to death inside a Brentwood home owned by Rob Reiner. They were pronounced dead at the scene. Authorities are treating it as a homicide, and the LAPD Robbery Homicide Division is leading the investigation. Major news organizations and people close to the family have identified the victims as Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle. Tributes from across politics and entertainment are treating that as established fact. There are multiple reports based on unnamed or law enforcement sources that their son Nick is a person of interest, is missing, or is being questioned in connection with the killings. Those same reports are connecting the dots to his long and public struggle with addiction and homelessness and the semi-autobiographical film Being Charlie to build a story of a troubled son and a tragic end. Those details are important, but they are not yet backed by public charges or an official police statement naming a suspect. Everything beyond that, the exact circumstances inside the house, state of mind, detailed motive, who did what and when, is unknown to us, and probably still being pieced together by detectives. If it does turn out that Nick killed his parents and is charged and convicted, this becomes one of the most horrifyingly tragic domestic cases in recent memory. A famous couple, longtime advocates for their son, dying at the hands of the very person they spent years trying to save. If it doesn't, and the crime turns out to be something else entirely, another relative, a caregiver, a stranger, something we haven't even considered yet, a whole lot of people are going to have to reckon with how quickly they were ready to cast him as the villain based on a couple of leaks and a painful backstory. Either way, the story will go on long after the trending tab moves on. There will be a trial, or an unsolved mystery, or a confession, or something in between. The family will have to live with the reality of it, not the hashtag version. Our job, if we care about truth even a little bit, is to resist the urge to turn every breaking tragedy into instant content and partisan ammunition. Being first is overrated. Being right and being humane matters more. So if you want to help actually improve the conversation on this, here's my ask. If you see real updates, like an LAPD press conference, a filed charge, a court document, drop them in the comments along with a quick summary. If you just heard a wild rumor from someone's cousin's Discord server, maybe don't. And if you're watching this because you're tired of breathless thumbnails and want someone to just walk through what we know versus what we don't, hit subscribe, tap like so more people see a non-hype breakdown, and drop your thoughts below. Do you think the internet is getting worse about jumping to conclusions in cases like this? Or has it always been this bad and we're just seeing it in high definition now? This is the comment section with Thomas Paul. Thanks for watching, stay skeptical, and I'll see you in the next one.